Yeah, make it clap. I don't. That's like an old hip hop song.
That may not have made it to my neighborhood.
It's not that old. You should have heard it. I think it's a Pitbull song. Maybe not.
Oh, I kind of skipped the Pitbull phase.
Well, I'm in the Bronx, so I can't skip anything
can't
Hispanic. I can't skip anything Hispanic. They just knock on my door and they're like, "Listen to what we're making," and I'm like,
they're
cool.
like, "This is what we're hearing. This is what we're listening to now."
Maybe it's not, but that's gonna really bother me, and somebody's gonna figure it out before us because I'm not gonna be able to look it up till after we get off.
I know we need a producer.
We do, but maybe it's not Pitbull. I don't know. Here's your daily dose of cuteness, little Zoo. I always like to show everyone my little blind dog. She's just staring at nothing. Like, you could tell she's blind because she just stares at like the wall now.
You should do a Zuzu Twitter account, but it's all your unpopular opinions.
Ooh, I love that joke you have about thinking all of what is it, like all of your unpopular opinions or racist thoughts are from, was it animals or something?
Oh yeah,
I'm butchering your joke.
That's all right. We're all butchering our jokes with the pandemic.
I know.
It's just basically like if you feel bad about eating meat, just pretend that they're like a racist or something.
There you go.
So it's perfectly fine. I did a show at Royersford, Pennsylvania.
How was it?
It was good, except it's with Louis. He was the friend. And they took a whole bunch of photos and then tagged us all online. And I'm like, I was just waiting for the hate to happen, but
you didn't get any hate.
No hate. I wondered if people had moved on.
Doesn't it upset you too when nobody hates something that you expect a little bit of outrage and then no one cares? You feel a little bit hurt.
I was wanting some drama. I guess.
I know, just like one tweet to be like, "Fuck you, Sarah, you're a dumb cunt," and you're like, "Yes,
yes." Well, the
Thank
only
you.
hate that happened on Twitter really was people still upset about Ari's tweet about Kobe Bryant.
Wow, people are
Still.
still upset about Kobe Bryant and Ari's. I mean, I get up being upset about Kobe, but being upset about Ari's tweet, even though we've had like such like stuff with the president, COVID, doing Black Lives Matter. Yeah, so it's like Ari was able to still come out on top. And I feel like that is amazing. Can you imagine tweeting something in January and then all that stuff happens, the world is on fire, and people still are upset about that?
Yeah, you're like, it was just one guy, and still, like, he still didn't have to say anything about his daughter, and you're like, yeah, we've kind of moved on.
But he didn't say anything about his daughter.
No, but he was like, yeah, but the daughter still crashed with Kobe, so it's still, it just doesn't matter. They'll still make it.
I know, but that's kind of like getting involved in like the first person that like killed a Jewish person right before the Holocaust, like in a driving accident or something, and then like you get lumped in with like Hitler, and you're like, well, that was just one person. I was like drunk driving. Like, I'm not really part of this bigger theory. Jimmy, like, I don't think Ari knew. Yeah, I don't think Ari knew like that the daughter. He didn't know the daughter was involved. I mean, nobody knew that. That's terrible.
Yeah, but it kind of feels weird in the scheme of things. It's like, oh, I forgot about that.
Well, you forgot about there was actual life before COVID, and we've been in COVID now for 6 months. So like, there was stuff that happened January and February that like we don't even remember, or like stuff that happened that is so not relevant anymore because we just went straight to COVID.
Oh, yeah. My friend Ashley was making me laugh about, remember when we were wiping down pizza boxes, which makes me laugh so hard.
We're wiping everything down. Also, too, once enough people stop doing it, then I'm like, I guess I'm going to stop doing it.
I kind of stopped before it was said that the, whatever you call it, transference or whatever, that it was very unlikely from object to object or whatever. It was just like the first 2 times of getting groceries and then putting them on one side of the kitchen floor, wiping them down, and then putting them on the other side to be like, those are my clean items. After doing that twice, I was like, nah, I'm done.
It's so much work. I remember like right in the craze of it. I think too, because New York got hit really hard and really fast. I think everyone was just like going nuts at first. I think if I had been able to be in a state where we didn't get hit as hard at first, then I don't think it would have been as manic. But back then I was like, I mean, I bought like hospital grade Clorox wipes that were like $80. And like I haven't them. Of course I have them. What am I going to do with them? It's like 150 sheets and I brought like 2 of them. So it's like I was just like in a panic state where you're like, what's going to happen? First of all, I don't even clean that much. I don't know why I bought so much stuff to clean with. It's like I have enough stuff to disinfect like after a surgery.
Yeah, but
what am I going to do with it all?
At least you'll have a lifetime of cleaning supplies now and you never have to go out.
But the worst is having to clean cleaning supplies. Like if they get dusty, it's like such a like slap in the face where you're like, I shouldn't even have this crap in here.
No, I remember like putting vegetables in the sink with light dishwashing soap and washing them and then rinsing them off, and then they would get all like puckered up and kind of ruined. Where you're like,
I wasn't even doing that. I didn't even know we were supposed to be doing that. Just washing each string bean off, jerking it off lightly with soap and water.
Just dabbing it with cotton swabs with alcohol on it and lightly dusting them and then putting them to the side. Graham K was making me laugh of like the people, we were cleaning our keys.
I mean, forget, we were cleaning all that stuff, but then still putting our dirty phones right on our faces.
Exactly. Like that was the thing, and that is the thing now too of like, we'll be like, oh, it's fine. You know, like I'm being safe, but there are times where I'm like, that wasn't safe. Like I did a show the other night and they were wiping down the mics, but then, so I was like, oh, I guess I don't have to bring my mic cover. I'll be fine since they're wiping it down. And then when I got on stage, I was like, he didn't wipe it down. And so I had to just go ahead with my set. And I felt weird to be like, hey, this didn't get wiped.
Do you think, see, if I was on stage, I would have felt like that whole show was done to make you get COVID and die. Like they purposely wiped every mic off except for mine. I'd be like, this is a setup.
This is a
Everyone's
personal
mic
attack.
was clean. Yes. I ordered some mic covers too because I have some shows coming up and I was like, I don't want to have to rely on other people. I'd rather just bring it myself.
It's just easier. And you know what's fun? Mine look like little strawberry shortcake shower
seen
caps.
Those. Mine is just black.
I like to pretend like just go, like don't even cover your full mic and have it like it looks like it's little.
Annabisi. We've talked about this. Have you ever seen... Do you know who Annabisi is? Where he has that little hat just like on the side of his head? From Oz. Sarah, you have to look it up. Oz, do you know what Oz is? The show about everyone in prison?
Yes, I know that. And I think I remember now that we did talk about the guy with the little hat.
And he has a little hat that's like much smaller than his head and it just sits like right here. I don't know how it doesn't come off while he's like rape. How do you rape people in prison with that little hat and it doesn't come off? That's a real... If you could do that, you should be able to get out of jail.
Oh, yeah.
So that's what it looks like. Yeah, a little Annabisi hat.
I like it. And then when you finish your set, you do the last line, then you pull it off like it's a mic drop. Like you just drop some truth bombs. So that is how you should do a special. Even once COVID ends. It's so fun. You know what, though? It's crazy. Last night I did a show at the East River Amphitheater. I swear there was probably like maybe close to 200 people in the audience. It was insane. Where I was like, you could film a special here. The backdrop was amazing, and it's like a seating area, like a theater, and everybody was really into the show. It felt like it was really fun. But it is one of those things at first you're like, oh, we could film a special during these times if you wanted to.
Somebody's definitely going to film a special. Even how like Chappelle has all those shows in Ohio.
Those irritate me for some reason.
Why? Because you're not invited?
Yeah, just mainly of like, ugh. It's like the cool kid table.
We're just not cool enough to be there. But I'm doing my first face-to-face show on Tuesday, and I was like, I have to do 20 minutes, which is a long time after not doing stand-up for 6 months. So I'm like,
Bring your
I
notes.
really don't know what I'm even going to do. I'm going to just read all my tweets and hope that works.
Yeah, you can do that. I mean, I think the reason why last night's show was full is Sam Morrell is just saying, he's like, if I do your show, I'm doing an hour, but I'll promote it, because he did an hour last night. So I think it was all of his people, and he basically was just reading. You know, the first part was pretty tight, and then the last part was pretty loose. That I felt like
that's a good idea, though.
Yeah, especially if you have that poll. Like, I couldn't do that and be like, hey, let me do an hour and I'll promote it, and then it'll be like 5 people.
And then they'll be like, Sarah's doing mediocre for an hour with only 5 people here. That's the thing, though. Once you have your own audience, you get a lot more leeway, but you also, I don't know if you get as honest of a reaction.
No, I agree, because it doesn't always feel like as soon as comics get really big, then they're after they peak at that level, then the next few specials after that aren't the greatest. They're okay.
Yeah.
But it's not like what they had beforehand to get them to where they are.
I thought it was interesting that like Chris Rock, from what I've heard anyway, would go like do audiences that were not his audience to see like what material would work. That makes sense. I just think once I have my own audience, I'm just going to do my own audience. And then if no one else likes it, I'll be like, you guys don't know what you're talking about. My audience thinks this is great.
I know. I would kill to have my own audience. I am so tired of trying to win everybody over.
It's exhausting, and you're not going to win everybody over. That's the other thing too. You just have to like conquer and divide, I think, at this point. Find your people in the audience and just cater to them. And that's it. Like, just do the jokes that you want to do, and if nobody else likes it, that's when they can check their phone. Yeah.
That's fine. I'm actually fine with, you can check your phone, just don't talk, or you can quietly get up and leave.
Yes, quietly. I remember, I think it was you that told me some old lady got up one time and she like left a show, but it was super slow, so you're just watching her leave the whole time. Was that?
Oh, we were talking about that because Mike Vecchione, when he was like one of the first people to do the Soul Joel's show where it wasn't what it was now. And so yeah, it was just like a 5-minute video of watching an audience member get up, get her stuff together, and then drive off into the distance.
Just leave really slowly.
I know. Oh, and this is the other thing. Remember when we would get so upset with hecklers? Well, now when you do outside shows, it's just you're like, it doesn't even matter anymore, because now you're dealing with planes, helicopters, sirens.
Right.
At the Royersford one, it's a train stop. So there was one long freight train that went during my spot, and it just was like wheels screeching with the train horn going. And now it's to the point you're like, there's no point. I can't take down a train like you can take down.
What are you going to do? Go knock on the window, like climb up top. I'm assuming it's like above ground.
I know, the audacity to be like, excuse me, I am doing my art over here, and I know that you need to get supplies to the next town. But what I'm talking about my pussy, and these people are really interested in it right now, so I need you to keep it to a minimum.
Well, let's not pretend everyone on the train is doing something noteworthy. There is also just a homeless dude rubbing his dick on everyone's like chair. So like, let's not pretend that's his art.
Yeah.
So let's not pretend they're taking supplies anywhere.
That is true.
Did you see that they have like a Karen mask for Halloween?
I saw that.
For $180.
I like that you're like, I could just recreate that myself.
I could just I'll wear my own face. Why would I pay $180 to just look like some other white lady? It's such a waste of money. We're in a pandemic. That's retarded.
Yeah.
$180 too. So. That's so much money.
I guess, I don't know, for other races that want to know what it feels like to be a Karen.
I guess so, but then you're going to have to also probably get like dye your hands and stuff too.
That's true. You know who Abby Rosenquist had a joke that I like, is she basically was like, as much as you guys hate white women, you still need us to turn down the AC.
That's really funny.
where you're like, it is true. White women really do come in handy for small victories for the group of like, excuse me,
You just
it's too cold in here.
Right. You just nominate one person in the group to get shit done.
Yeah.
Unless you're in the restaurant that they're in and you think it's hot, then you're gonna hate that one white lady.
Yeah, you like it you like it a little bit colder.
Well, you just might start a fight with somebody else. What if there's two like dueling white ladies and one thinks it's cold and one thinks it's hot?
That's very likely a young white lady going against an old white lady, because old white ladies are menopausal, and that's why they complain about why they're hot. They're always running hot.
But then also sometimes they're cold. It must feel like you have the flu. Like, first of all, okay, I'm not going to have kids, so having my period just seems like a huge waste of time.
Yeah.
Like, dealing with that and then dealing with menopause. There's a... I don't know why you're not watching 90 Day Fiance, but there's a lady who's like 53 on it, and she is trying to have a baby. She's 53. And her husband is from Nigeria. He's like 30 and he still wants children. So she called him up and she was like, hey, I got my period after I haven't had it for 2 years. So she goes to GYN and they're like, hey, I think you have cancer. Like, it's not your period, you fucking retard. It's so funny where she's like, oh no, I thought I was fertile.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you're dying.
You're just bleeding from the inside. We don't know where it's coming from.
It's so crazy that she thinks that she prayed to God for her period to come back at 53 and then it just came back.
That is wild. When does that happen? When do you stop getting your
Menopause?
Period? Yeah, but when
Probably
that
around
seems
50?
to happen.
Maybe
Okay.
50, 55.
Well, they're saying, I see stuff about like we're even in our 40s, you can start being premenopausal. Like it's starting to happen.
Probably. I would assume that it might have happened or is happening every day. We're just getting a little bit older and dying a little more.
And we'll just be, by the time the pandemic is over, we'll just be old.
I know. This pandemic could last a couple of years. I hope it doesn't.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I saw Will Savence last night, and he thinks it's going to shut down again.
It probably will. I mean, most people think it will just because the winter's coming and that's flu season.
I know. It feels like New York's doing pretty well, though. But I do feel like we can't do outdoor shows because I'm already cold at these shows.
I mean, I went to walk Zuzu the other night. I was like 2 weeks ago I was at the beach and now it's cold. So,
I know.
yeah, I guess we probably only have a couple of weeks of outdoor shows and then maybe they'll start doing indoor shows.
That'd be cool. Well, it's just like Cuomo just said, even though they're going to open up indoor dining at a 25% capacity, he still was adamant about he specifically said that still means like no comedy shows. He goes, as much as I think we need a laugh, I don't think it's essential right now.
Well, I mean, it's not essential to him, I guess.
No.
What sucks, though, is like if his brother was a comedian, he would probably open back up because he wouldn't want to hear his brother every day talking about how he's not making any money.
Well, it just shows you that still no one thinks that this is an actual job.
Well, nobody thinks it's necessary. Everyone thinks we're like getting highlights where you're like, it's nice, but it's not really needed.
Or that we're smoking just pot all day and watching TV.
I mean,
which
that's
I think
not,
we are.
Yeah, that's not totally incorrect.
Well, like, even like the comics that you could consider work really hard I still wouldn't consider are working truly hard. Do you know what I mean? Like, even if you put in 2 hours a day to write stand-up or create something, you're doing way better than everybody else.
Yeah, that's still a lot of time.
And 2 hours of working on something is not a lot of work.
No, especially when people work like 7 to 8 hours a day.
Yeah, when people are like, "Oh, SNL is so hard," I'm like, I don't know. Have you ever been a line cook for where you work 70 hours a week and you never get to sit down? Like, you just sound so stupid.
Sarah, you do get leftovers though. It's not that hard. Everyone was bitching about like all the parents homeschooling and stuff. and it reminds me of that Burr bit where he talks about how like his wife said mothers have the hardest jobs, and he's like, "Oh, I thought the hardest job was being a roofer with red hair in the summer." You're like, yeah, I don't think it, like, I get that parents are upset right now. I think it's definitely hard and challenging, but you have to remember, like, moms were homeschooling back in like the 1600s, and they were also getting beat. Like, it was just so much worse back then, and you still have it pretty easy. So, like, stop complaining. You're just used to, honestly, nobody wants to deal with their kids that long. That's what it really is. Do you know what I mean? Because, like, I get that. If I had kids, that would be my reprieve, sending them to school and letting them be somebody else's problem.
Yeah, you get a little break from it. Like, it is a lot of mental energy. I understand that, but I always like, he also had that part where he's like, you can do it in your PJs.
Yes, you could do it in your PJs. Like, also, the weird thing about homeschooling is, I guess, like, while the kids are, you could just homeschool your kid and teach them yourself for a year. Do you know what I mean? Like, so you can just opt to just do it fully by yourself. And if they're 6 or 7, it's like, you don't need to teach them that much stuff. Do you know what I mean? Like,
no,
I would just let them play and watch. It would be a lot of movies, Benadryl in the afternoon, and then a shot before they go to sleep. They'd be pretty medicated, is what I'm trying to say. But
yeah, heavily sedated this year.
Yes.
And then when the school year picks up, you give them some speed just to, like, get them back to normal again.
Stacker 2. You probably never took it because you're always really thin, but Stacker 2 makes you like a crackhead.
We didn't have Stacker 2. We had Ritalin, which is so crazy because I remember all my friends were on it, and then they discovered that you could snort it. So we were just doing, like, everyone was having like a Ritalin/Coke party, freshman, and like, just, it started like freshman year. I just remember being at friend's house, and then they would just snort it, go outside and chain smoke, and then talk a mile a minute while being on Ritalin.
That reminds me of that episode of Saved by the Bell when Jessie is like trying to study and she takes all those pills. Isn't that the episode where she's like, "I'm so excited," and then she starts crying and Zach just shakes her?
Yeah,
because
they were
the way
also
you're not supposed to shake a baby. He's just shaking her like a toddler. Snap out of it.
I think because she was doing that, wasn't she also trying to practice for their band?
She was doing a lot of stuff. She was trying to study. I guess she was studying for whatever that was where she was saying, "I'm so excited."
I know.
Could you imagine what's his name, Slater now, with calling her like all those, I guess technically misogynistic things? Would he call her like hot tits and stuff?
Hey Toots, I think. He did call her by a lot of names. I think he called her cunt face,
melon tits.
Melon tits.
Wait. I don't know what he called her.
Did I ever tell you the time that you know Freddie G? He's
the comic,
yeah, Jewish comic with really tight orange hair, and he had a show where it was kind of like Mystery Science Theater, where he was like, "We're gonna play a movie, and then we're gonna have comics on stage, just like cutting up, making jokes about the movie while it's playing." So he did the movie Showgirls, and I was doing it with Mike Lawrence, and I was like,
did he start jerking off during the movie?
No, but there's a horrific rape scene in the movie, and he didn't watch the movie, so it's funny to me, but people are like, rape isn't funny, but I'm like, it's not funny, but when you have a guy that wants us to make jokes about the movie and hasn't fully watched the movie, and then there's a rape scene in it, then that's funny to me. Like,
well, all I remember from that movie is she's topless in it.
She's topless in it, but her roommate goes to like do an audition for the top producer, this guy that she told her not to, and then he just brutally rapes her and beats the shit out of her.
And then like she goes back and the friend's like, "I told you so."
Yes,
that's a weird situation where you go back and you're like, "Hey, remember you told me not to go to that sleazy guy? Well, he raped me." And you're just like, I mean, I don't know what you thought was going to happen. I wonder if that
Right.
was like about
Yeah.
Weinstein.
Probably not.
Wasn't he a rapey producer?
Yeah, he had been around still at that time. I don't think Showgirls was a submersive movie about Harvey Weinstein's sex allegations.
No. Just that one little part. They were like, let's just sneak in and see if he picks up on this.
Yeah. I don't know.
I was surprised that girl's career didn't take off. I mean, I don't know that she was a great actress or not. Do you think it was because she went topless in that movie?
Yeah, I guess that one, it's not even that crazy of a movie, like it's not insane. It's not an insane movie that I feel like it would ruin someone's career. Like, it's no different than a Basic Instinct.
Yes, but Basic Instinct, I feel like, made her career, whereas Showgirls ruined her career.
Yeah, but she didn't really have a career before
I
that.
guess that's true. She was just on Saved by the Bell.
And then did you like Lark Voorhees, the Lisa Turtle? She went all Republican.
I thought she did. I don't know why. I thought that, and then for a second I was like, maybe I'm confusing her with somebody else.
Stacey Dash. Stacey Dash is another
No. Stacey
black
Dash
actress.
is way hotter than her, though. I would never confuse her for her. I confuse her for another person. So, like, it's still racist, but, like, different.
Different. Well, Stacey Dash is also a black actress that also went Republican.
Yes, and the funny thing about that is every dude would still bang her. If you asked a black dude if they would bang her based on her being a Republican, they'd still say yes.
Yes. I wonder if it's because they're well off. No
Maybe.
poor person is a Republican except white trash. And only because of abortion.
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I'll ask her. I'm friends with her.
Okay.
Do you think it'd be hard to start a friendship with Stacey Dash? I gotta be honest. I don't think she would be a lot of fun to hang out with.
Nah.
Isn't that weird? Like, from that movie Clueless, she's like a huge Republican. And what is Alicia Stone doing? Getting that movie that you were talking about?
Yeah, where she shoots herself.
They're convincing her that she's in an afterlife.
Yeah.
And they basically just cleared the computer history to confuse her and turn the lights off. They just unplugged the house and she's like, oh no.
We're in purgatory. I get it. When you think your Wi-Fi is off, you want to just like shoot yourself in the face.
It's so brutal.
It is brutal. I'm trying to like not look at my phone as much and it's killing me.
Just do it as much as you want. It's kind of like...
It makes me feel good. The only time that I really like it is like late at night. Joe goes to sleep and I have about an hour and a half of just like absolute me time. And I can look at whatever I want. Yeah.
You're like a mom whose kid's gone to sleep and you're like, this is my time.
It is my time.
You're just on TikTok.
Yeah. Just learning about narcissists.
What else is new?
I went to the stand last night.
Ooh, how was that?
It was fun. Joe, there was like a homeless person or whatever. Just like a street guy. Like there's just like, I don't know if they're homeless, but they're just like aggressive dudes on the street.
Okay.
Kind of like the ones that are like, I don't know, changing out their socks or like organizing their cart. That's
usually not a person that has a home. Do you know what I mean? Like if you're changing out your socks, you're usually doing that at home.
I guess Joe was on stage and he had approached Joe. And then it got kind of weird, and Will Savence had to step in and kind of like get the guy off of him.
That's a weird situation where like dealing with hecklers has gone to like just random people coming up to you during your set.
Yeah, they're we're dealing with more aggressive hecklers because they're just outside crazy people.
It's just like zombies walking around.
Yeah, it was Joe's he was like, it's just weird because like I'm a white guy, so I can't really get into a street brawl with a black guy and then it goes viral and then I become like this huge racist. So it gets like really awkward sometimes.
Yeah, you just got to take a beating. You just got to take whatever he starts doing. Like if he starts putting his dick in your mouth, you have to just be like, this is what's happening right now.
So no one thinks you're racist.
No, and then people will watch the video of you blowing him and being like, you weren't even really into that. What is it like when you do they'll just be like, you're a cis man who's just oppressing people with your mouth. I don't know. There's a way to turn everything around where it's negative, even if you're doing something nice, like blowing someone.
Yes. Yeah, it's just like there are times where you're like, I don't want to even say anything. We've talked about that they're becoming like a huge Karen.
Yeah, so did the guy just go, like, what did Will say to the guy? Was he like, hey, man, you got to leave?
I think Will just had a presence of like, hey, if you come any closer, like, this is going to turn into a fight.
That's a weird situation.
It is weird. I haven't had that. There was one show that I did outside. It was at Greenpoint, and the show was slowly building up, and then there was a couple of dudes in the park, the playground area right next to where the show was at the stairwell area, or the stairs are. And they know the show was going to happen, and then they were all quiet, and then as soon as it hit 9:00 when the MC went on, they turned on their radio and just blasted music to a point that you couldn't even talk over it. And you're like, well, they are in the park. They have every right to do what they want to do as well as we are doing what we're going to do. But it was just very where you're like, how do you deal with that?
Were they sitting like where the show was, or they were just kind of in the... So you think they were doing it just to be spiteful?
I think so, yeah. And then it got to the point... So they kept, the host would go over and be like, hey, could you just keep it down? So then they would turn it off. And then as soon as another comic went on, I always felt like as soon as the comic went on, and if they weren't getting a laugh within a few minutes, that they would start playing it. And then I was like, okay, I have to be good because they're going to gong me soon.
That's
with
what I was going to say. It's
rap
like the new
lyrics.
Gong show.
It was so funny to me to be like, shit, if they start playing music during my set, I know I'm not doing well. And that's how it felt like what was happening.
Well, I think there was, I've done shows where like they'll start playing music or something that's like in the hood rooms a bit, or like if they don't like you, they'll pick their keys up. I've never had that done, the keys thing to me, but other people have told me. I think Alexis said that he's been in a room where they'll do the keys thing, which means like get off.
You know, actually, I don't mind that. I wish other clubs, you know, when you're eating it and then they're like...
You just want to get off stage.
Yeah, and then they're like, you got to do your time.
And you're like, why? None of us are enjoying this. They're not enjoying this. I'm not enjoying this. Let's just take this as what it is. It's just not working out right now.
You're like, the people have spoken with their keys. I must leave. Like...
Yes.
But clubs are like, you must do your time. Like, we are here to do our time. Where you're like, why? I'm giving them a shitty product. It's in everyone's favor that I leave right now.
Yeah, they just don't like it. They're not into it.
Yeah. So I don't mind the key thing.
I'm thinking though, if we said this to comics, a bunch of people are not going to be into the key thing. The problem too is like one person might not like you, and then they're ruining it for everybody else. Do you know what I mean? Like other people might be into it, but they're doing the key thing, and you're like, well, now this is just about keys.
Yeah. Do you think if it was just one person, then they wouldn't mind? Like he just didn't. Do you think they do the key thing only because you're just having silence for about 2 or 3 minutes?
You mean like no laughs, but you're talking?
Yeah.
No, I think if people don't think you're funny, they'll be like, not funny. And then do the keys. I think it's that's the only time you want to perform in front of homeless people who don't have keys. That's the one time. But I think if someone doesn't like one joke, they'll just be like, keys. I don't think it's that. I don't think it's like that. I think people just don't actually care.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, especially when you're on stage, people act like they own you almost. Where they're like, I don't think this is funny. You need to do what I want. It's just almost not. It's weird to be back on stage and like do that, and then you realize like this isn't that fun.
No, but that's why I've been liking pandemic comedy, because I feel like audience members have been pretty cool.
Yeah, I guess we'll see. I might do stand up on Tuesday and be like, I hate this.
Where's your show?
Somewhere in Jersey.
That sounds fun.
We'll see.
Yeah.
It has to be fun enough to pay for the bridge. So
That's true. To make it worthwhile.
yeah. I don't know. I might just get on stage and be like, oh, I don't even want to do stand-up anymore. I'm like, this isn't that much fun.
Well, I think I'll definitely I won't do a lot more. I won't do as many free shows. And that's the other weird thing with pandemic. Every single Brooklyn show, which is most shows that I've been doing are in Brooklyn, they pay now that you're like, why weren't you guys paying us beforehand?
I don't know if people are paying because they feel bad for comics or if they weren't charging.
Yeah. Well, most of it is suggested donation.
I think people are more likely to donate more if you say a suggested donation, or if you even like, hey, man, if you can't afford anything, that's fine. I think people are more likely to give you more money.
Yeah. It should be treated like a 12-step program. You know how they're always like, intergroup is not doing well right now.
Yeah, we need you more than we need your money, but like, we really need your money. That's always such a funny thing where they're like, we need you more than your money, but like, also we need money. So like, give us money. You're like, wow.
So you need our money. Exactly.
Yeah. Give us your money right now.
I found a dollar bill on the street the other day, and I was walking with R.A., Louie, and Joe, and they didn't pick it up. But I felt like a dirty homeless person. I was like, it's still $1.
Sarah.
But they don't need it.
You can't stop in your conversation. You have to pretend to tie your shoe and then just happen to take that dollar. You cannot just stop 3 people who are doing well financially, because then you do look like a poor beggar child.
I know. The dollar bill looked like shit. Like, it just looked like it had dried up turd dust on it.
And you were going to stop and put it in your little pocket?
I put it in my little pocket, but
you picked it up?
I did.
In front of him?
Yeah. And then afterwards, I was like, I should have probably left it on the ground. Here's the thing. If you find at least paper money, if you find paper money on the ground, it's this. It doesn't
First
look
of all,
great. Look how brown it is.
I don't even think that's real money.
It's a real
I
dollar.
I think it's yellow. Somebody peed on that dollar.
Somebody
peed on that dollar to see if somebody would pick it up. And then they got little Sarah picking it up.
I know. I really did. I was like, oh, God. I was like, this is kind of an embarrassing look. Like, I just did that. It was on my mind.
It would have been funny if the 3 of them just stopped right there and started a GoFundMe amongst themselves and came up with like $5,000 for you. They were like, this is so sad, Sarah.
Yeah. I was like, oh, maybe I shouldn't pick up. But really, finding money on the ground is such a great feeling.
It's almost the equivalent of like putting on a jacket and finding $20 in it. It's such a great feeling.
Remember those car commercials where to show you that you could save money, it would be a person getting into their car, and then when they turned the AC on, then money would fly out. Or then when you looked in your glove compartment, there would be a stack of hundreds, and you're like, why can't they just do that? I always remember being like, that would be an amazing car.
Of course. Anything. I remember, I don't know what it was, but like that thing where you're saying where money's just flying. Was that on a TV show or a game show where they did that? Where like you stand in kind of like a booth and then they put a fan on and money just goes everywhere and you have to collect as much as you can. You just look like a beggar. Like you look like the most desperate person trying to. And it's, I think, dollar bills. So maybe you're walking around like $40 or $50, but like it's so heartbreaking to put poor people in a situation where like they're so desperate for money they'll do anything.
Yeah. It's well, that's how I kind of feel like some of those talent shows are like. It's just like people that are their make or break moments, and then you have to dance like a monkey for the judge. It's so sad. It's demoralizing. Or like the Shark Tank stuff too. It's always like sometimes they'll just be a kind of like someone that didn't do any research and they're just showing up because they think they have a good idea, and then you're like.
I love watching that show. I also like watching the, I guess like owners or whatever you call them, just kind of turning on each other. Like, they're all just garbage people, all of them. But they're like, I'm out. And you could see the people being like, no, don't take away my possible money.
No, it's disheartening because it does feel like that. If you're not getting a yes on any of those, then it's just like your idea is shit.
Yeah, and I think, too, they're much longer than they're showing on the show. So some of those people, their presentations might have been much longer. Like, also, though, if you come to the show with, like, dog ties, like bow ties for dogs, like, that's just not that great of an invention. And, like, nobody's probably going to go for that.
No, that's an Etsy store. And you don't need to go on Shark Tank for that.
I remember one time I was watching it, and I think it was something with, like, I guess kind of like a cover for your bed that bed bugs couldn't get into, or either that or like bed bugs they could tell if you had them, and like all of them were in. They were like, this is an amazing, because they always want to know how much have you sold, do you have a patent, is it pending? So it's interesting when some of those people are like, yeah, we have a patent, I've sold $300,000 worth of stuff, but also you're like, well, no, I need you. That's kind of why I'm here. If I could do this by myself, I wouldn't really be here.
Yeah, it reminds me of New Faces Montreal. Like, the only way to get it now is if you've already been on TV or done something like industry-wise where you're like, no, the whole reason of doing New Faces is so I can get on these things. So what's the point if I'm already doing TV? What's the point of this? Where, like, Shark Tank, you're right, it is like that, where they're like, well, how many units have you sold? We'll only buy in if you've already sold like 1 million units, where you're like, well, then why do I need you if I'm already selling?
Right. You're like, I'm doing this out of my basement, like my parents' basement apartment. There's not that much room for production.
Yeah.
I don't really have a staff to help me put this shit together.
Nor do you ever hear Shark Tank stories where they get denied and then that person ended up making millions of dollars.
No, but I think there's some people who get denied and do reasonably well. There's, what's the one, who are the people on there? There's the one guy that, is it not Damon Dash? Is it Damon Dash? No.
That's the guy that owned a record label, right? I know there's Mark Cuban, and then that's the only, and then I know the other one, she's the Barbara that Maddow always does an impression of.
And then there's the other lady that is always on QVC with like the ponytail.
Yes. The long blonde.
Yes. And then there's the one guy with like the salt and pepper hair that's balding that I can't stand.
It's weird that we don't know their names.
There's no reason to know anything anymore. You could just Google it. Like
that is true.
My friend is studying for some test that he has to take, and he has to study like 20 chapters. And you're like, for what? Like, if any of this stuff came up in real life, you would just Google it.
Yeah. I think about that all the time, because we were just talking about, now they're talking about like putting a chip behind your brain. Elon Musk, that you maybe in the future, if you want to look for something, you just in your mind, it'll automatically Google it for you from your chip in your brain. So it's
basically, that seems like the worst idea to get caught murdering people. You're just going to go back. You're like, we're going to need everyone's chips to just make sure you haven't killed anyone.
Mine would just be like tons of like, what is this celebrity up to right now? What does this celebrity look like now? That's all my Googles are.
So wait, would it actually show you your actions though of like doing stuff?
I don't know if it would have like your history. I mean, I'm assuming that if it's a chip, it would eventually just have your search history, but it would show you could actively think of something in your mind and it would Google search it for you.
That's insane.
Yeah.
I was thinking it's something like a camera where it just records everything you do.
I don't know.
I was like, that's crazy.
Well, I think
follow people's brain chips to see what they're doing that's like illegal and stuff.
Yeah, it's kind of like you've heard that thing where this dad found out that his daughter was pregnant because of the advertisements she was getting. Like it kind of it can preemptively, because I guess whatever she was Googling felt like craving something. It was a weird story, and I remember this coming out like maybe 10 years ago. like it was all the stuff that she was Googling, not necessarily saying that she was pregnant, but it all pointed signs at a high possible chance that she could be pregnant. And then as soon as she started getting the ads and the dad knew that his daughter was pregnant and it was like a teen pregnancy or something, that it is kind of like that movie Minority Report, where you could probably figure out that somebody's going to they could figure out that you're about to murder somebody by what you're Googling.
That's insane.
Or searching up or looking up. Because they can, what is it? Well, like they'll know that like if they're dealing with a possible suspect, they always look at their search history.
How do you figure that out if somebody's like how to hide a body or how to get like fingerprints off stuff?
Yeah, well, one girl, she was the mistress of a guy that murdered his wife and kids. This was pretty recently. And one of the things that she Googled was, did the mistress of Lacey Peterson's husband, Scott Peterson, did she get a book deal? And so they were like, that's very weird to search that before the murder happened.
So she was hoping to get a book deal. That's so crazy that you're like, hey, can you go kill someone? Because I want to write a book and I want it to be like a bestseller.
Yeah, because I think she could make money if she didn't commit the murder. Because I don't think you're allowed to make money if you off the murders that you did, profiting.
How could you search for something like that and not be suspicious? Could you just start Googling stuff like what happened in, I don't know, 2011? I have no idea when she died.
Yeah. Or Lacey Peterson?
Yeah, like what would you do to actually kind of figure that out without putting into Lacey Peterson's mistress get a book deal? Best ways to get a book deal?
Yeah, I guess so. Like, or I don't know how you would have to do a roundabout way. Like, I get that way sometimes when I'm looking at, like, say a video like on TikTok, and I think this guy or girl is bringing up an interesting point, but I know it's a talking point of the right, and I get so nervous to like maybe look at it longer than I should, because then I'm worried that all of a sudden my algorithm will switch over, and then I'm just like on Trump voting algorithm.
I know, but isn't it kind of crazy to just trick the algorithm and be like, haha, it didn't
You
work.
don't know me.
You don't know anything about me. I just looked at one Trump debate. And now you're sending me down a rabbit hole of right shit when I'm still going to vote for abortion.
Yeah, you have no idea.
You don't know me at all.
Well, I remember Sarah Silverman recently tweeted like, hey, why don't you should start another Twitter or social media account and follow all the stuff that's opposite to what you think, and just start seeing the kind of bullshit that they start propaganding to you. I guess that's the term.
Interesting.
Like, wouldn't it be really interesting to see what your ads are? If you're a Trump voter, what kind of news or email things that you end up on?
You could probably just start a new account.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. You start a new social media
I thought
account.
You meant like a new platform. Yeah. Start like a guy's account.
Yeah. Well, I remember like, so my dad, I'm pretty sure, is a Trump voter. And then when he died and we had to close out all of his stuff, and like we still keep his email open just in case, somebody reaches out and doesn't know that he passed. So we'll see some of the emails that he got, and knowing that he was he watched Fox News, like it'll be emails like, guess what Gwyneth Paltrow's up to? She has a candle coming out that smells like her vagina, where it's like, they know that's the kind of shit that makes the right really upset, that there's a woman making a business off of her candle smelling like her vagina.
Also, though, how are you testing that? Because, like, I'm sure her pussy doesn't smell amazing, and there's no way that someone's like, well, open your legs. Let me get a whiff. Let me get some inspiration.
I know. I don't know. I was like, this can't be. That was a news thing. Well, the other thing, too, is have you ever seen the newsletters that Trump's team sends out to his constituents?
No.
It's insane.
Is it like, hey, team?
Yeah.
Like you're on a volleyball team and they're like gassing you up for a win. Hey, guys, we got this big game coming up where we really need a win. Let's have a countdown. All together now.
Yeah, they're going to try to, or it'll be like, they're going to say these fires are climate change, but they're not. It's Antifa.
It's really Democrats just spreading abortions.
Yeah. It's that kind of like outlandish, I don't know, salacious news stories.
I feel like the left isn't that much better though. It's like
no, I agree.
The left like is also so left that you hate them. Where you're like, come on guys, let's get it together and stop being so annoying with everything we're saying.
Oh, absolutely. I watched a Rachel Maddow show and you know, I like her and she's really smart, but like
Is she to the right or left?
She's to the right. She's the lady with the short haircut.
The blonde hair?
No, brown hair, and she wears glasses.
I have no idea who we're talking about. See this? I just made up who I thought it was, and I was totally wrong.
Well, she's kind of like, her demeanor is like, just saying, I am just saying. She's just like, can you believe? It's so, she makes me cringe, but she has like good talking points. But even on her show, she'll just be like, she'll have the lady or Trump's niece, and the whole time she's like, did he ever say the N-word? Have you ever known him to say the N-word? And then she'd be like, yeah, I'm pretty sure he said the N-word. And then she's like this.
I knew it, guys. What did I tell you?
Like, okay, yeah, we know he says the N-word. We all know he says the N-word. Like, this isn't, and nobody cares.
What
they
great
do not
journalism.
Yeah.
That's groundbreaking journalism. Do you say the N-word? Do you say the N-word? Do you say the N-word? Until stopping until you get a yes. What a crazy way to, like, try and catch someone out there.
I know.
Like, I still think people getting upset about Paula Deen is insane. The fact that she said the N-word in the comfort of her own home is nuts to me that she said that and people were outraged. It's like, she's an old white lady.
From Georgia.
Yeah, and also the fact that she was honest about it blows my mind. Why would you even say that? I like the fact that she was honest to me. I'm like, you kind of got to give her a pass.
I know she was coming from a good place of being like, you know, it's not something that I'm proud of. And I will, you know, like it felt like she was like, you're only as sick as your secrets. And I think we should openly talk about this. And
everyone was like, fucking racist.
Cancel.
Yeah. You're like, what? I didn't know. So you're like, just lie.
I do. You know what I do like about her is that she pieced out. It's been so long. She hasn't even bothered to come back. She's like, kind of like, I'm done. That's how I feel like Ellen should be.
Ellen has so much money. She doesn't really even need to be around. I guess it's more to be like relevant.
Yeah.
Maybe she'll just do another comedy special.
That would be fun if we got to see her true mean colors.
Yeah, and not this nice bullshit act. Yes, I would love that.
Yeah. I always love mean humor in a weird way. I love drag queens for that.
Drag queens are the best. Maybe Ellen will just become a drag queen.
Oh, I'd love that.
Yeah, I mean, did her show get canceled? I don't really follow Ellen too much.
I don't think so, but she's supposed to come back, I guess, and like address the thing, and things are going to change now, but it's so funny when you're like, that's how your show has always been.
But things are going to change how? Like,
I don't
people
know.
Aren't going to be assholes to
now. I know.
Right, starting now what? Like,
and then you're like, can we get one more in before you start now?
Yeah, can I just be a total cunt to like everyone for a week? Just 1 week. Just 1 weekend of me being a total like obnoxious cunt.
Yeah. Or you're like, I can't just stop being a cunt. You have to like work your way down to it.
I think we should just phase Ellen out and put Emma Willmann in her spot.
I would love Emma Willmann.
Emma's really funny. She's gay. She has the short blonde hair.
She has great stories.
Great story. So funny. I think that's what we should do is be taking one lesbian out with another lesbian.
Oh, of course. Like, you can't replace her. You have to get another lesbian to replace Ellen. It's only fair.
It does seem fair.
I like this new campaign to get Emma on Ellen.
I think it's great. I don't know why nobody's thought of it. Who should I email?
I think we just start a campaign now, just on Twitter.
Guys, just replace Ellen with Emma Willmann. Their names both start with an E. I mean,
They both have double consonants in their name, M and then L.
4 letters. I mean, it's so close where it's almost not. You're not even gonna know.
And
Except
I
for
think
Emma's much younger.
I think Emma can dance too.
I'm assuming Emma can also dance, and she's probably much nicer. I mean, she's always nice to us, but you don't know how people are behind closed doors. Also,
Absolutely.
too, I guess, I wonder if Ellen was just, like, nice in the beginning, because you can't be a royal cunt from the start. Do you know what I mean? So, like, she had to just phase into this. Like, maybe, this is going to sound awful, but, like, maybe people being okay with gays forced her to just let her just be her true self, which is a cunt. And if we just hated gays again, she would have just been nice.
Yeah, forced her in a place.
Maybe
to
it's
be
on
nice.
us.
Maybe we created Mean Ellen.
We created Mean Ellen, that she felt so comfortable that she could just be her total self.
Well, I do like that theory, but there was a guy that knew her back in the day, or this story about there was a HBO comedy showcase in New Orleans, and this was back in the 80s before she broke. And she was saying, we don't need this shit. None of us need this shit. Let's just not put up with this bullshit. I can't believe they're going to like make us compete to get whatever this showcase show. So let's not show up. And then they said that she was the only one that showed up the next day. There's something that I like about that.
My theory is definitely wrong. Did she win?
Yeah, I think that's how she got like on the Young Comic Showcase show.
You know that whoever she told not to show up to, that person is so mad that they didn't show up, and they think that's why she's famous.
I know. Here's the thing, though. When I hear a story like that, I'm like, that's a lie. No comics unionize like that, ever. They'll say, sure, and you know they're showing up the next day.
Comics right now get paid so little, whereas if they took all of the money away, people would show up for free. Comics would show up to pay people to do comedy.
Yes. We don't, as much as we like getting paid, we still do it for free most of the time.
I think Ellen is also like a huge alcoholic, so I'm surprised she doesn't ever talk about that in her stand-up.
Yeah, that's more fascinating to me.
She could also just blame being a witch on drinking.
That is true. I mean, that explains why she's probably mean. People, when you're hungover, I think I was more mean hungover than I was drunk.
Of course, it's so hard to like keep it together when all your head hurts so much. You're just like, I just want this day to end.
I know, you're tired.
There's also got to be a part of you that doesn't want to be that like happy all the time. Imagine pretending to be happy all the time and nice to a bunch of people in your audience and like caring about the dumb jokes she does. Like, doesn't she have like the weirdest like outtakes on her show where someone's popping out of like a cake and surprising someone? It's like, how many times can you pretend that's amazing?
I would be drained. It's like hosting a show for the we've both emceed before. I can't do it because I can't sustain that energy level for the whole show.
We should never host anything.
I didn't
except someone's suicide. We do not have like the mental energy to do a comedy show where it's going to go on for hours.
Yeah, because you have to be like, how's
hey
everybody doing? Keep that energy up.
Keep that energy up. Help us welcome this next special guest that just dropped in. Everyone always just drops in for a comedy show. Like, we didn't know this person was around, but they just came down in a parachute and surprised us all. Now they're here for you. Please give it up for the wonderful Chakaduki. And you're like, who's that? And you're like, this person sounds great.
Yeah, and then they just
in a parachute. I know. And then they're like, oh, it wasn't that person's night tonight, but next up, we got the hilarious ball-busted chops of Frankie Martinez. You're like, I hope this guy's better. And then he just starts doing, like, magic. I feel like magic is the one thing you could do where people are always, like, I don't know. Even though I know magic's fake, I could still watch magic for a long time.
Well, it's pure joy. It's just whimsical. Yeah.
Yeah, you're in amazement. Like, nobody's going to, I don't know. I'm sure people are like, that's a hack trick. But, like, it's just, you're still having a good time. Magic never makes you upset. Nobody's protesting a magic show.
Oh, yeah. So there was a guy that did a show the other night, because this is the other thing that a lot of, like just doing shows lately, there's a lot. All of a sudden, there's all these comics that I've never seen before in my entire life. It's like pandemic has brought out new comics. But we were wondering, is it because this is the open mic Bushwick scene and there's still not a lot of the bigger guys, so we're just like these two kind of comics are like meeting, so that's why it feels like you're seeing new comics.
I don't know, but I've seen a lot of the lineups just in general, and I'm like, I know 2 out of these 6 people, so you're like, I don't know. When the pandemic first started, I got a couple of emails from people who wanted to start doing stand-up. So I don't know if they're new people or they're people that were like a couple years in, but there's a lot of people doing comedy that I have no idea who they are.
No. Well, here's one that was weird. There was a guy that went up. I think his first name was Marcus. His intro was he did Letterman back in 2008, and he talked about it was weird. He looked pretty young. He's 35. You would think a guy that did Letterman back in 2008, you're like, at least he's got to be something 40, 45 maybe. Like maybe Ted Alexander's age. So then he's talking. I'm like, God, who is this guy? And he's talking as if he's been in New York this whole time. I've never seen him on any of the lineups. This is crazy. So I went home and I Googled him, and he's like a well-known juggler, and he probably makes way more money than I'll ever make. He probably did all the cruise ships, every college gig that you've ever done, and he's good at it.
And you can also juggle, and like people will see you doing the same act, and nobody's going to be like, I already saw this. Like people can watch you juggle all the time.
Yes. But he didn't juggle that night, I think because we were on a rooftop.
So everything could have fallen off.
Yeah. He's just like, oh, shit.
I guess that
okay.
is an occupational hazard.
Yes. Where like he's just on a unicycle on a rooftop that's
falling
not
off
even
and then
level.
he's dead. And everyone's like, how did he die? And they're like, well, during the pandemic, he took a risky rooftop show.
But no, it's just funny. We're like, I've never seen this guy, and you're thinking that he's just like, oh, he's probably just getting back into stand-up, and you're like, no, he's probably been doing more shows than I've ever done, and just like killing it because he's in the magic juggling world.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of people like that. There's also a lot of comics that just do bringer shows that we've never heard of. I knew that a couple years in, someone told me about that, and they were like, there's just a bunch of comics. They only do bringers. They don't do anything else. And like, that's a whole scene of comics that you don't know.
It's wild.
It's super wild. It's crazy to keep doing this. Zuzu's snoring so loud. Zoo. She's becoming... do you hear her?
Yes. Zuzu. Did she have a tough day at work?
I just put the mic up to her face. No, but every time Zuzu comes in the room, I always pretend she's like a salesman going door to door, and I'm always like, I don't want anything you're selling.
You're like, not right now. I'm like, right now, because she's sleeping.
Please leave. I don't want any of your services. I always pretend she's like going door to door. She's snoring so loud, though. She's like a little old lady.
I like to pretend that she's, right now, since she's sleeping so hard, that she's an essential worker, and she's been working really hard at the hospitals.
She is. She has to clean all the beds and do all the laundry. That's what she's doing, her little job.
Can you imagine having our pets, like, in the future, we don't have to work, but we just make our pets do our jobs for us, and that's how we make money? That's like slavery.
Yeah, like we send them out to like go make pizzas at a pizzeria. They come back, they have flour all over them.
I was also having this thought. I read somewhere that in this book that I was reading, he compared eating meat to being pro-slavery, meaning like, you know, he's like, at the time, you're like, you know, it's bad, but it's part of the economy, and that's what you've been conditioned to do. So you don't really stop it, and you rationalize it. And I was like, that's true. But I was thinking how it's funny to think doing that as a comparison, because I think every now and then you're like, well, in desperate times that you do need to eat meat, or that's the only thing to eat, or maybe as a treat, you're like, I don't know, let me just have a steak. The idea of being like, I don't know, let me just treat myself to like 1 week of slavery.
That's like not a great comparison at all.
No, but I do know what he's trying to go for is like it is unethical, but there's a way of like in our minds that we do rationalize it.
I guess it would see like I think if people started like normalizing cannibalism, like I don't think I would say, well, everyone's doing it. Like, do you know what I mean? Like I just say it in my head, I'd be like, well, that's not for me.
But if you were born into cannibalism,
If I was born into cannibalism, then sure, I would eat everyone.
yeah.
I guess if you're just like, yeah, this is what everyone's doing, then of course I'm gonna eat people.
Yeah, and then you're mad at people trying to take away your people to eat.
Yeah, that's also crazy though, because anyone you come into contact with could be your next meal. Like that's a weird. What if like cannibalism was legal and like everyone was doing it, and then someone like went to give you a hug? Wouldn't you think they were just gonna try and bite your ear off?
Yeah, you're like, I don't trust you.
You just get a sample.
Yeah, how do you make friends when you're in a cannibalistic society?
I guess there's probably vegans. That's when vegans will just eat meat and not people.
Yeah. I like that you're like,
for.
if I was born into cannibalism, yeah, then I'm eating all the people.
Oh my God. So delicious. I always thought it was weird. I had that joke about how do you even get into being a cannibal? It's not like you go to a party and they're serving it. You just have to take have to take a whim and think you might enjoy it.
Yeah, I think, or like, somebody's like, we've got human flesh here. If you want to try it, meaning like, I know it's not for everybody, like caviar. And then you're like, I'll try human flesh.
Do you think like biting the inside of your mouth is kind of what being a cannibal is? I do that often. Maybe I am further along in the process of being a cannibal than I know.
Or like chewing off your fingernails, except you don't swallow them.
You don't. You just bite someone's scab off. You're like, let me get a little treat.
It's kind of like the little hard parts on a roast beef that I really like those pieces.
So you're going to really love scabs. I got to tell you, I fell down a flight of stairs and skinned my knee, and you're going to have a delicacy on your hands. Just a whole knee of little crispy pieces. This dog is snoring so loud. Zuzu!
Oh. Well, I guess it's time. I like anytime that we go into cannibalism, I know we're at the hour mark.
I don't think that's true. I think that's when we're just hitting our stride.
I do too. You're like, we should just knock off the first half hour.
Yeah. Guys, follow us on Instagram and buy
We've
Sarah's
got big
album
things
if you
happening.
haven't. We have really big things happening that we can't talk about, like getting our animals into working.
Oh yeah, that's our.
PETA would be down our ass. If we started sending our dogs to work, PETA would go nuts.
Can you imagine? You're like, I'm not gonna make my spot tonight, but I've sent Zuzu.
Yeah, she knows all my jokes.
Adrienne, I think you should do that.
I'll try. I mean, I've brought her to a couple of shows. Now that I'm gonna start doing outdoor shows, I'll bring her and see how she likes it.
I think you should, because I think it would soften the edge off of some of your school shooting jokes.
I can't even do them anymore. We don't even have school.
I guess Zoom shootings.
Well, there was that one. It was like they were doing, I guess, at home stuff, and there was like 2 kids that just had guns. So it's like they're still doing shootings, just in a different way. Like they're just brandishing guns at home.
That's
and then like the
cool.
cops showed up.
Did they really?
Mm-hmm. I posted on something, maybe Instagram or Twitter.
I mean, can you not do your Zoom with your gun
know.
rack behind you?
I think no,
what
but
kind
they
of
had it in
country
their
is this?
they had it in their hand. I don't know. Can you like see your friends on Zoom and go like this to their faces though? Like I don't know if you could get in trouble for that. If you're just like, hey, I'm just picturing I'm murdering you right now, and people are like, I'm gonna call the cops, and you're like, this is the kind of school I'm into.
Yeah, it's like Duck Hunt.
Yes. You're like, guys, I'm just saying, if I have 4 friends and I kill 2 of you, how many are left?
That's your math problem.
Yeah, you just turn it into a math situation. You're like, everything is a learning experience. All All right, guys, this has been fun. Follow us on Instagram. Send us some emails. Buy Sarah's album.
Yeah.
Be nice
Make
to
us-
each other. Unless
Make
someone's
us
a cunt.
rich.
Make us. Oh, also, a lot of people don't know how to spell my name, so I think that's why I'm not famous.
At Labarucci. What was that one I saw?
Yeah, but people in the comments are like, I tried looking for you, and it took me 2 years to find out who you were. So I just am telling myself that's why I'm not famous. Because no
Can
one
I
can
tell
spell
you-
my name.
My theory on that is because your name starts with an I, and I think naturally people want it to be an L.
Yes, or they think it starts with an A.
Yes.
I'm just going to change it to
What it-
Adrienne Apple.
I think you should change it to Adrienne Pucci.
That just sounds like I'm a
or Lucci.
Adrienne Lucci, like Susan Lucci. I'm
Yeah.
down with that. But then I
Maybe
have to do so much
that is her
paperwork.
name. That is a lot of paperwork.
I'll think about it,
Alright.
though.
All right, guys. Make
Thank
us
you.
rich.
Make us rich.